When we're excited about getting ready to start a family, we anticipate this extra closeness and excitement with our partner about bringing home a baby, starting a new family, taking a new journey into a new part of our life. But then when things don't go as planned and getting pregnant wasn't as easy as we thought it would be, maybe we receive a diagnosis of PCOS and perhaps told that you're not going to be able to have children, instead of a closeness, we can develop a barrier in our relationship. This happened to me, and it has happened to many of the women that I work with. And so today, we're going to talk a little bit about some things that can be helpful and some things that we can do our best to avoid to keep the closeness and to keep that support that we need in our lives as we deal with this difficult journey. Hi, I'm Ashleen Korchak. I'm a PCOS mama and a board-certified physician assistant who has a passion for combining the natural healing methods for PCOS as well as the medical knowledge of all of the different medical treatments and natural approaches that we can take to actually get to the root cause of our PCOS hormones. So as we think about getting that diagnosis, and a lot of times our emotions just spill over and we either dwell in just the emotions or we shove them under a rug. I'm a shove it under the rug kind of person. Give me what I can do and I'm going to do it. I'm an action taker. But the emotions are still there and they need to be dealt with. When I was dealing with infertility when we were trying to have our first, it wasn't something that I really included my husband in. He knew what was going on, but he was busy, he was in his training, and I felt like it was my burden to bear. I felt like it was in some way my fault. It was my job to fix it, and it was my job to figure it out and to try not ruin our plans and dreams of having a family. I hear this from a lot of the women I work with in some form or another. This, and of course is a little bit stereotypical, but the woman often feels like it's her fault. That something's not right with her, that somehow she's broken, and that she's somehow letting her partner down. Now, maybe in the light of day, this sounds overdramatic or not the case, but still, it's very common that we have these feelings. So what I want you to do first of all is to let those feelings out. Whatever methods work for you, whether it's letting yourself have a good cry and writing your feelings down, whether it's talking to yourself in the car, in your room while you're getting ready, just having a conversation with yourself to just process some of those feelings. This can be scary. First of all, that can feel weird, but the next step that I'm going to ask you to do can feel scary, and that's to approach your partner and to share even just a little bit of how you're feeling and ask them how they are feeling in return. When we are so overwhelmed with emotions, it can be difficult to even think about what the other person is feeling. And yet we are putting all of this projection on how we're the one at fault or we're the one that is to blame. And to hear their perspective can actually be really, really helpful. Maybe they are also devastated and you can share that bond. Perhaps they're less concerned about when this happens, but they're concerned about you. And they're worried about saying the wrong thing or upsetting you because they understand the emotional and fear, or the emotions and the fear that you have around this topic. Maybe they're actually relieved. I know my husband was actually a little bit okay with waiting a little bit longer before our lives got turned upside down. And that in itself was actually hard for me to deal with. He, now a father of 3, he loves it. He wouldn't change it for the world. But he was also okay with it taking longer. And for me, I was dealing with the fear of what if it never happens, and if we had been able to have a more candid conversation about it, one, there would have been things that frustrated me, but it would have been less lonely. So here's an example of how this can actually benefit not just the way you feel, but also your hormones. When we are living in this whirlwind of constantly reliving this kind of nightmare that we're in, we were looking forward to having a baby, we were so excited to start, and now we've been told that, well, probably not going to happen, or you're going to go through all of these scary and expensive and stressful events to hopefully medically, procedure-wise, be able to get pregnant. So as you talk to your partner, then the next thing I want you to do is actually contain those conversations with your partner, but also with yourself. I'm not saying shove it under the rug. Been there, done that, it doesn't help. But if you can set it aside and say, you know what, I've done what I'm going to do with you today, and I'm going to set you aside, and I'm going to come back to you next Thursday. When we do that, it's like a weight can be lifted. We can take a deep breath, and we can focus on some of the things in our life that bring us joy, that bring us satisfaction, and that repair and build and continue to grow the relationships that we already have. So as you process your own emotions, begin to share those with your partner, and then learn to set those feelings aside to enjoy a little bit of the life that you currently have. Then you can start to think about really taking care of yourself. So one of the next things that's really helpful is that as you've heard from your partner, how they're feeling. And most of the time what we find is that they're actually more concerned about our happiness and about our health and our well-being than they are about the timing of when we start a family. And when we hear that, although it doesn't fix anything, although we are still wanting what we want and frustrated with what we're frustrated with, there is an element of relaxing in that, feeling secure, feeling safe, feeling supported, and not feeling alone. Just by having somebody else to share it with. Now, if you don't have someone else to share it with, it's important to find someone that understands what you're going through, and I would be happy to connect with you. But as you start to feel that relaxation, the release of the anxiety, even just for small periods of time, it will help your hormones. We can't get rid of the stress in our lives. We can't relieve it entirely. But when we have these small breaks from it, by processing the emotions, by finding the support that we need, by asking for the support that we need, it's amazing how the anxiety, the cortisol, those stress hormones, how they can calm down enough to let our body feel like it's in a safe place. When our body feels like it's in a safe place and in a safe environment, it is more likely to produce healthy hormones. Another advantage of bringing your partner on board by explaining your feelings is that they can also start to understand why maybe you're beginning to make some health changes, why you're cooking something different for dinner, or why you're not wanting to go out and eat at your favorite restaurants or get the same takeout that you're used to. All of these things help bring them on board to make it easier for you. Finding the support that you need is so crucial. I'm here for you. I'm rooting you on. If you need extra support, feel free to message me, because this can be a lonely journey. All I want to say in closing today is that I've been there. I've tried to do it all myself, and it's lonely. And as hard as it is for me to talk about it still, it's something that is so important that if you're struggling with infertility, that you ask for help. Whether it's someone that you don't know because it feels more safe, or it's someone that you do know and that you feel very safe with, asking for help just to have someone hear you out can be so helpful. All right, until next time, I'm Ashlene, and I hope that you can find the ability to reach out to someone this week and share with them a little bit about what you're dealing with.